I am a transmission teacher of Buddhism. And what that means is I don't really tell people what to do. I don't enjoy telling people what to do. Because that just means if it doesn't work out, you can come back and yell at me. But what I do as a transmission teacher, and what all the transmission teachers before me have done, is we help you uncover what you already are and what you already know. There's a part of you that always knows exactly what to do in any given moment, no matter what is blowing up, no matter what is happening. There is within you a presence, an awareness that is intimately connected with all of existence and non-existence and everything. And it is in perfect tune and knows exactly what needs to be done at the moment it needs doing. So my function as a spiritual teacher is to help you recognize that, to help you become aware of that and live in accordance with that. I wish there was something I could say, go do this, and that's all you have to do. Unfortunately, it's more complicated than that, because we all have our own layers of conditioning that we went through. We've talked about the 5 aggregates before, and each one of these aggregates, which came together to form what you call you, all has their own conditioning, their own patterns. And we'll talk about that another time. But there are things that have been passed down through centuries of Buddhism that work as guidelines, that can help us live a very happy and bright and beautiful life, and kind of help us become more in tune with that which we already are. Now, it's important to remember these are guidelines. They're not commandments that have been sent down and you're like, you have to do this. Because it doesn't work that way. This is the study of awareness. This is this practice of learning how to place your attention in different ways, and then that opens different levels of awareness. So to think of these guidelines as some hard and fast rule, then what you've done essentially is built yourself a nice pretty box, and now you're trapped inside a box, which actually goes against what we're trying to do here. We're trying to just blow up the box and dissolve the box, or as Turiya put it, smash the mirror that is blocking us from the direct perception of reality. So what has been handed down are these wonderful precepts, these 5 precepts. Let me share them with those folks on Zoom. Now, of course, any teacher, transmission teacher, teaches for the present audience. So the precepts, as I outline them, might be a little bit different than what you may have seen in different translations of the sutras. But the essence, the essential meaning is the same. And if you use these guidelines, then I think you'll discover that you can have a very happy and bright life. So the first one is simply honor life. do not murder. It seems pretty straightforward, but like everything on the spiritual path, it gets a little complicated, because we can say, okay, don't murder, I'm not going to murder any people. That's pretty, okay. But what if somebody's coming at me with a knife and about to stab me? Should I just let them stab me? No, because then that creates bad karma for the person that did the stabbing, and then it creates bad karma for you for not attempting to correct them. So obviously you don't want to murder. You don't want to just like overpower them and take the knife and stab them, because now you're in a state of wanting to murder, and that spirals you out. That's the same state they were in, right? So that's not honoring life. So that's why I put the first precept as honor life. So if somebody is coming at you, if you're rooted in this guideline of honoring life, then you can say, well, how can I honor life in this moment? Oh, let me try to disable this attacker, incapacitate them until somebody, can arrive and help me. And when it comes to people, I think it's pretty straightforward most of the time. But what about other forms of life? Like I have recently dealt with little ants in my kitchen again. And I don't want ants in my kitchen because they leave little trails of pee. That's how they scent mark. It's unsanitary. And if I let the scouts come in and wander around and then go back to their nest, they'll bring all their friends. And then if all their friends show up, and now I have a whole horde of ants in my kitchen, that's not going to work. It's not sanitary. They take over my cat's food, so now that would be interfering with the life of my cats. It would possibly bring disease into me. That's interfering with my life. So when I see the scouts, these little tiny little black ants, I get out the dish soap and I wash them away. And I do it because it's honoring the life of their colony. It's better if they were to stay outside and forage, and I hope they have very happy ant lives out in nature where they belong. When we think about honoring life, we also need to realize that everything eats. Everything does. There's, I get in discussions online, and or I've seen them. I try not to get into them, but I've seen them in different Buddhist forums where people have taken this first precept, which is often written as "do not kill," and then they apply it to animals. And they say, "Oh, well, we can't eat meat because that would be killing." And my response is, well, what about the carrots that you have killed to eat? They have sentience. They have, there's discoveries that plants have nervous systems and they have responses. Like there's trees in Africa that when a giraffe comes and starts eating the leaves, they send out a signal to the other trees in the neighborhood, and then those trees actually release a chemical that makes their leaves taste bad. So there's communication happening. We might not be able to perceive it and interact with it. But do I approach my need to eat as I'm going to kill and murder everything? Because no, that's a very dark state of mind. But if it's realizing that, I honor the life of this body, I want to nourish it so it may be of service to enlightenment in this world, then we can approach our food, whatever it may be, whatever our body needs to function, as honoring life. So these precepts aren't, like I said, they're not just rules. They're actual contemplations. I want you to really look at them and say, well, how can I use this as a clue to expand my awareness? How can I use this to go deeper into where I'm conditioned, where I'm stuck in a box, where I have this stricture come up and I'm like, oh no, that's wrong, or oh, this is right and everyone should do this. Look for that pushback that arises in your mind, and that's where we apply our awareness. This is how we use these precepts. Now the second one is be honest. Do not tell lies. It sounds pretty straightforward, but in this culture especially, we're conditioned to lie all the time. It's really sad in a way, because when we tell those little lies, like when the telemarketer calls and you're like, oh, I'm busy eating, and you're not, you're just hanging out doing nothing, but you don't want to say, I'm just doing nothing, leave me alone, because it feels rude for some reason, which is weird, because why does it feel rude to say the truth that I don't want to talk to you, no thank you, as opposed to offering up a lie that's a fake excuse. And we, if you're honest, you probably do that to your people you call friends too. So when we do those little lies, it makes it that much easier to lie to ourselves. It makes it that much easier to pretend that we're okay with something when we're not. It makes it that much easier to, fudge the details a little bit. And in the end, it just winds up bringing us into deeper and deeper delusion. So being honest, we also want to wrap that honesty in compassion. Because if somebody, maybe they're really excited about their new shirt that they're wearing. They're like, oh, I love this shirt. This is just like my favorite shirt I ever found. This is the best thing. What do you think? And you're like, ooh, that's like hideous. Maybe you don't say it that way. Maybe you can look at it and say, oh, I'm really happy that you like it. That's honest, right? That's compassionate. So again, this is an opportunity to really examine your awareness and see how many times you catch yourself telling a lie in a day. Whether it's to somebody else or whether it's to yourself. So this is like another layer of mindfulness practice of like, am I being honest in this moment? And again, be compassionate. This is not a license to start beating yourself up for lying. This is an opportunity to recognize where you've been conditioned to live in delusion. And it's also not a license to be mean. To tell somebody something just because it's true. Maybe they didn't ask you. Maybe they really don't want to know. Maybe they were just venting in a particular moment and they don't need to be corrected. So again, all of these precepts really come back to ourselves and how we act and how we behave. And it's not about pushing it on other people. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So again, just be honest. This is one of the most powerful practices that we can do on the path, is this honesty. Number 3, take only what is given. Do not steal. when we take only what is given, that does not mean that we have to take everything that is given. So if somebody's having a really bad day and they're throwing all this anger at us, we don't have to take it. We do not have to accept that gift. But if somebody is holding on to something really tightly and you really want it, you don't manipulate them and try to take it away. You wait until it's given. You might tell them how much you like it, how much you would like to have it, but you don't reach over and just take it. And we do this not because there's punishment involved usually. Like if we walk into a store and then try to walk out with a whole bunch of stuff without paying, we'll probably get in trouble. But we do this because it keeps this beautiful reciprocal give and take that happens in the world naturally. There's this, if we even look at, the cycle of water in the planet, the rain falls from the sky freely, and then it gathers in pools, and then it evaporates back into the sky, and then it falls down. And there's just this wonderful cycle of give and take. And this happening continuously, even in the cells in our body, there's this natural flow of give and take. And if we kind of live by this precept of taking only what's given, we remove this sense of forcing things to happen. Like within your body when you breathe, there's this air that comes into your lungs, and then the blood passes through your lungs, and there's this exchange that happens where the carbon dioxide at a cellular level is taken out, and then the oxygen is put in, and then it goes back through your heart and then is redistributed through your body. Now, if we were to try and force that to happen, and try to shove the oxygen into the cells, then there's not an opportunity for the carbon dioxide to come out, and then the little blood cells can burst. So that can happen on a very small level, it can happen on a very large level. But if we can relax a little bit and enter into this very receptive mode, then we find more often than not that what we need in a particular moment is actually being given to us. And then there'll be opportunities for us to give in exchange. So start to pay attention to that. Start to notice when you're trying to grasp and steal something, whether it's someone's attention, whether it's somebody's an object, a physical object, or an idea. You're just trying to grasp and hold on to it, but instead relax a little bit. Look and see, well, what's being given to me right now? And conversely, what can I give? What can I let go of? And I think you'll find this beautiful rhythm that's happening already. It's not like you have to decide, I'm going to make this give and take happen. It's already happening. And again, this kind of speaks to the deeper purpose of our spiritual practice, is becoming in tune with what's already happening. So 4, respect sex, avoid sexual misconduct. Sex is this immense creative energy that we play with as adults, adult humans. This immense energy that moves, and it can create ecstasy, it can create horror if there's misconduct. It's very powerful. It can open us to the world of sensuality, where we feel things very, very deeply. And if we abuse that energy, then we can spiral out into very dark places, where we get caught in a sense of greed, a sense of control. And then that can appear in our relationships. So whenever you're dealing with either just sexual energy, your own, even alone, have respect. If you're in a relationship with somebody, again, have respect for that power and that intensity that arises. And if something feels off, if you start to enter into that sense of force, that sense of control, then stop and look at that and say, okay, is this correct? Is this appropriate in this moment? And if it's not, course correct. And number 5, face reality with sobriety. Do not use intoxicants to escape. Anything can be an intoxicant. Some people have simplified this final precept to just mean, don't drink, don't do drugs. And that oversimplifies what it's actually about. It's about actually being willing to be present with your full cognitive abilities, to have clarity and sobriety no matter what. We all have this sense in us that we want to escape, we want to run away when something is unfamiliar, unknown. It kicks off that part of our brain, the amygdala, that is danger. And we go into one of the trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And that's just a biological thing that has kept our species alive. So again, there's nothing wrong inherently with that reaction. But if we are having it and we use a substance or some kind of stimulus or some kind of idea to escape from actually experiencing that fear, then we're not facing reality, we're hiding. And that will stop our progress on the path right there. We won't be able to move forward. We'll just find ourselves repeating the same patterns over and over again until we're willing to actually sober up and say, oh, this is what I've been trying to escape. This is what I've been hiding from. Yeah. Be brave, face reality. And because of these other processes that are happening, if we practice the other precepts, it makes this one much easier to do. Because we'll find in the midst of that fear, that overwhelming need to escape, that there is internal inherent support. That no matter what happens, we're okay. That our mind can spin out into weird places, our body can do weird things, painful things, but yet there's this calmness, this serenity that exists in you find your way to the center of the storm. And you're able to just be present. But if we start to rely on intoxicants, then we don't get to have that experience, and it stops us from practicing this path of doing whatever it needs to be done in the moment that it needs to be done. It's like putting a bag over our head and then trying to walk down the street. It's going to be very challenging, probably going to bump into a lot of people. You're going to make a lot of people uncomfortable because they're like, why is this person walking around with a bag over their head? Like, just take your bag off, then you won't be walking in the middle of the street. But nobody can do that for us. We have to decide that, oh, I'm going to face reality with sobriety. And like I said, these intoxicants that we use are not just substances. They can be patterns of behavior. Like, oh, instead of dealing with this situation, maybe I'll go just, scroll through social media. That's a really popular one right now. A lot of people will do that, the endless scroll. Or other people will just start buying things online that they don't need. Oh, let me just look at all the shopping I could do, all these different items that can take over my senses. Or some people can even take these very precepts and turn them into an intoxicant. And they do that by policing themselves and policing others and saying, nope, these are the rules, you have to live by them. And then building out of these precepts or other rules, if you will, this safe little box in which we live. So look at this very carefully and deeply and discover, where are you trying to escape when something comes up, when an issue that makes you feel that fear, that makes you feel that uncertainty, makes you feel confusion. Look for that sense of wanting to escape and see, are you going to escape or are you going to face reality with sobriety? And say, you know what, I'm going to put my full attention in this present moment. Not so I can push some rule box on top of it, but so I can experience what is actually here, what's happening in real time, not how I thought it was, not how I think it should be, but how it actually is right now. And that's one of the most powerful practices that we can do, especially if we're combining it with all the other precepts. If we're honoring life, we will take care of ourselves. If we're being honest, we'll know if we're bullshitting ourselves or others. If we're taking only what is given, we'll enter into this natural, innate cycle of give and take. That's as simple as breathing. If we're respecting sex, then we see that powerful sensual energy of which we're made, and we have respect for how powerful it is, and we use it appropriately. And then when we're facing reality, we get to become one with pure awareness. So it's very worth the effort. again, these are guidelines. They are concepts for you to explore and to contemplate. They're not whips that you can hit yourself with. Instead, if you find that, oh, I really want to murder that spider or whatever it is, check yourself for a moment and be like, oh, what's making me want to murder it? I've just been conditioned to think that all spiders are bad. Guess what? They're not. Some are very helpful. And then by doing so, we start to see the conditioning that has been applied. And as our awareness continues to examine it, the conditioning starts to crack. And then that's how we smash this mirror that keeps us trapped, keeps us bound, and keeps us suffering. So it's worth it. So do you guys have any questions or any comments?
I have a comment. So I just looked up the word precept, the definition.
Uh-huh.
And it says a general rule to regulate behavior or thought. So, that was really an eye-opener to me, because the thought part, so like, for example, if I'm honoring life and I'm driving down the road and somebody cuts me off, I'm not in my mind trying to kill them, right?
Uh-huh.
So that would be the thought part of the precept, right? Not to do that. Hopefully.
Exactly. Well, yes, so much happens in our mind that affects us. And I think we don't realize that a lot of times. We kind of compartmentalize, and we're like, well, I didn't really do it. And it's like, well, you kind of did. Because, we've all stood next to somebody, I'm sure at one point or another, who is having a really bad day, and they're just emanating this really gnarly anger, this very abrasive energy, just like, I want to kill everything. And just standing next to them can be quite painful, never mind if you do something that upsets them, and then you get the full-on stare and glare. And that can almost, like, if you're at all sensitive, it can either wipe you out where you're exhausted, or it might trigger your own abrasiveness, and then now you're matching that energy with that energy, and you're pushing out all that anger and spreading that around. And I think it happens even on the freeway. Where we're driving, and then we're like, oh, I can't believe they did that, and then that energy hits that driver, and then it spreads to another one, and pretty soon you've got a whole pack of cars all in that mind state. So thank you for adding that. So, all right, well, let's meditate.